Gentlemen, welcome back. You're back with MGTOW Money. Today's topic is going to be how you can make, or who else wants to make, $100,000 a year or more. And I'm going to give a specific formula in a couple of moments. But before we get to that, this, of course, is MGTOW Money. And if you're new to this channel, this is the only MGTOW channel dedicated to how to manage your money, how to invest it more wisely, how maybe you can achieve financial independence and retire early. On to today's topic. Anybody else want to make $100,000 a year or six figures? That is a dream. And of course, I'm talking about USD converted to your local currency, but that is a dream for most people. I'm working off some assumptions here that 80% of you that are hearing my voice right now are working a job. You are not self-employed. You are not financially independent. And that 80% of you are not making $100,000, 100,000 US dollars, but want to, or at least roughly around that figure. You'd be very, very happy to do so. So whether you are 25 years old and just starting out, or 45 and unfortunately starting over, which based upon some of the comments that applies to some percentage of you, and honestly my heart goes out to you, we are going to put some rocket fuel today into how you can start making some serious money. I'm defining serious money as that six figures. And remember, gentlemen, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It matters how much you save. And by making serious money, by making $100,000 and six figures plus, that's when you can start really aggressively saving money. Moving on, here's the formula. Here's the recipe that you need to use to increase the odds that you're going to move to that six-figure category. Now, of course, as always, there are no guarantees. I cannot prophesize the future. I can only tell you this will absolutely, virtually guarantee that you will increase your chances of doing so. So let's start out with number one. Something I've mentioned multiple times. I'm blue in the face now. Believe me, you've got to move to an area, whether it's in your hometown, whether it's your state, whether it's your country, moving out of the country. You've got to move to an area of the world that's economically prosperous, that's growing, that's vibrant. There's lots of areas around the world that are doing quite well today. I'm sure you can find one of them. You've got to move. You've got to move yourself and stop being a potted houseplant. That is critical. Number two, here's what you're going to do after you moved. So now you're in an area where it's economically prosperous, where things are growing, where things are happening. You're going to get a job. I don't want you to get any job. I want you to get a job in sales. Yes, I want you to be a salesman. Specifically, I want you to get into sales of business-to-business sales, what is also known as B2B sales versus B2C sales, which is business to consumer. I highly recommend getting into business-to-business sales, more specifically, outside sales. So I'm not talking about some sort of telemarketing sales. I'm not talking about some sort of car lot sales. I'm not talking about you're selling aluminum siding. By the way, I highly recommend, if you haven't ever seen the film, Glengarry Glen Ross, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, unbelievable film, fantastic, a real hardcore sales film, far better than some of this Wolf of Wall Street and all that crap. I'm telling you, Glengarry Glen Ross. Little side note, needless to say, you are going to be a professional salesman. You are going to be a pro. You're going to be selling to other business people, whether it be business owners, high-level management, etc. That's where you want to be in your sales career. Taking this a step further, you want to get into the type of job, ideally, that you have some sort of inclination or enjoyment about. Let me give you an example. If you have a real interest in the building trades, there are lots of sales jobs where you're selling to, for example, home builders, or maybe you're selling some sort of parts or something within the building industry, or maybe you have a real interest in boats and the marine industry. Again, you're selling boats and boat parts, etc., to boat companies. Or maybe you have a tremendous interest in software and you know software coding and various software packages, etc. Again, you're selling software and software packages, etc., to business owners and maybe CTOs or CIOs or whatever the case may be. Again, the point is, this is business to business sales, professional sales. I can't emphasize that enough. In an industry that you already have some sort of familiarity with, some enjoyment with. Taking this another step further in terms of the type of company that you want to look for, ideally the type of company you want to look for is one that has at least several hundred employees, 200, 300, 400 employees minimum. You don't, in my opinion, want to go to work for a startup. In my opinion, you don't want to go to work for the employer that has 20, 30 employees and one office. You want to go to work for a company that's got at least several hundred employees and furthermore has multiple offices and ideally multiple offices spread throughout a wide geographic area. So again, we're talking about at least a small to medium-sized company. The larger the better, certainly at least a medium size that has growth opportunities for you. In other words, growth opportunities where you can grow financially and of course will probably offer better benefits, a higher salary, as well as maybe even geographic opportunities. Maybe you want to move from point A to point B. Maybe you want to move back to your hometown and they just happen to have an office there. The point being, you're going to be a professional salesperson in a professional organization in a name brand organization. When I say name brand, at least name brand to that relative industry. Now, I do want to mention some objections that I'm sure that are probably crossing your mind, and this is especially true for people who do not have experience in sales and or don't know anyone that's been in sales. Number one, even though you've never been in sales, even though you may not have a college degree or a wealth of education, you can do this. I can tell you for a fact, I personally know many very successful salespeople who are, number one, they're not very bright. In other words, their IQ is not very high, but they're very successful. And number two, they do not have a college degree, and they're definitely, and to continue on with the same line of thought, they're not very pleasant people. They're not the type of gregarious, outgoing. Some of you may remember there was a television show back in, I think it was the late 70s, early 80s called WKRP in Cincinnati. And they had a guy named Herb Tarlick, who was a character. And he was the salesman there for this radio station. He'd always wear this plaid coat and was very gregarious, etc. The point is, that is not the typical successful salesperson. The typical successful salesperson is somebody who's much more muted, who's much more calm, who's much more blended in, if you will, than you can ever possibly imagine. And that's going to be you. And that's how you're going to be successful. Let me mention a third objection that I hear about sales. Oh, well, all salespeople are somehow manipulative, or they're going to lie to me, etc. That is not true about you. A successful salesperson does not need to manipulate. They do not need to lie. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, you will gain credibility when you're prepared, when you're straightforward, and when you're clear. You do not have to be a tremendous extrovert. You just have to be honest, clear, and straightforward, and frankly, work hard. If you'll do those things, along with being prepared, and again, as I emphasized, in a growing, vibrant market, in a growing, vibrant economic area, I will virtually guarantee you, I can't guarantee with absolute certainty, but I can tell you with virtual certainty, you will be successful. And while you may not hit six figures, at least you'll be having close to it. And furthermore, if you follow the formula that I've been describing here, you will increase the odds of, well, okay, I don't like sales, but I wanted to get into something else. And by getting a position with the type of company that I'm describing, and I guarantee you, these types of companies exist. They exist all over the world, and they are desperate for salespeople. You will succeed. And if you'll do this, if you're 25, you are in a prime position. By the time you're 45, you could probably get out of the workforce if you'll follow this and stay with it. If you're 45, get started now, not tomorrow, now, today. Start planning it. Find your market that you want to move to. Start thinking about the type of company that you want to go to work for in terms of what industry you want to go to work for, and do it today because you can do this. Gentlemen, as always, thank you. I appreciate, of course, all the kind comments. It is really, really kind. We, of course, are building an international MGTOW army, and we're moving this channel forward. And this is a channel of financially independent men, and I need your help in moving this forward. I need you to post this on forums. I need to share it with friends. I need you to hit the like button if you found this information useful, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. As always, John Galt, out.